It's 1:30 still.
All right, welcome back, folks. House Government Operations and Military Affairs. Continuing conversations in and around the Office of Professional Regulation. We have folks here from the massage therapy realm of licensure to talk about some, well, I don't want to put words in their mouth, I'll just let them talk. We have two people in the gallery. Who would like to go first?
Foundation, probably Christine.
All right, we'll start with our Zoom guest.
Hello.
Hi.
Let me get my video going.
There we go. Bingo.
Good
Thanks
morning.
for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Just here to talk a little bit about the concerns with the current regulation of massage therapists. So thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of the Vermont chapter of the American Massage Therapy Association. We shorten that to AMTA. A few years ago, the legislature passed legislation to regulate massage therapists and other touch professionals through registration instead of licensure. AMTA Vermont did request licensure. I'm here today to talk with you about why licensure is the appropriate level of regulation. In addition, we have some serious concerns related to the fees associated with the current registration. The American Massage Therapy Association advocates for fair and consistent professional licensing in all 50 states, promotes public education on the efficacy of massage therapy, fosters professional ethics and standards, and supports the advancement of clinical massage therapy research. We represent more than 106,000 members nationwide and more than 340 in Vermont. The Vermont chapter of AMTA strongly advocated for licensure in 2020. At that time, the profession was not regulated by the state. The legislature decided to go in the direction of registration instead of licensure, with rules to be promulgated. Note that the rules, to our knowledge, have yet to be promulgated. In light as what we see as the ineffectiveness of registration to achieve the goals of professional regulation, AMTA Vermont continues to strongly believe that licensure is the appropriate level of regulation, joining 45 other states as well as the District of Columbia, U.S. Virgin Islands, Guam, and Puerto Rico, which all require licensure for massage therapists. It is worth noting that both Kansas and Minnesota, which are unregulated states right now, do have bills that have been introduced this session. Vermont remains behind the curve in the licensure of a profession that is recognized by the Department of Defense and the Department of Veterans Affairs as an effective treatment for chronic pain. Similarly, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has recommended in their plan benefit guidance therapeutic massage provided by state licensed massage therapists to be a supplemental benefit within Medicare Advantage plans. Mandatory licensure is essential for public protection as well as title protection for our massage therapists. A state mandated license would require a minimum standard of state specific requirements that would include a clear scope of practice, determined set of educational hours and experience, study approved curriculum, and passing a psychometrically valid examination. Registration is little more than simply a registry, a list, not an effective regulatory tool to ensure public health and safety. And then lastly, on the fees, our initial fee for registration, for massage therapy registration in 2020 was $90. The fee initially increased to $275, taking most of the profession by surprise. Massage therapists are now expected to pay the same fee as other professions which are licensed by OPR. In addition, we are paying significantly higher fees than the renewal for many other licensed professions, including social workers, occupational therapists and physical therapists who pay $180, cosmetologists who pay $155, radiologists, therapists, and technicians pay $175, and unarmed private investigators, their registration is $95. The biennial renewal fee of $275 are not commensurate with the level of regulation and are overly burdensome for massage therapists. And also to that end, Representative Casey does have a licensing bill in the drafting process at the moment. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Exactly what you said.
Any questions from the table?
Exactly.
And I guess we'll just continue with the testimony. We'll build up some questions. If you could just stay on for us and just be available for Q&A as we
Yep.
hear from the others, that would be wonderful.
Oh, I did have one question. I'm really sorry.
Representative Pango.
Number of states that register again was how many? I missed that.
The number of states that license,
Sorry, licensed, not registered.
there are 47 states that currently
you.
license. Yes.
Yeah, that's a pretty glaring data point. So Representative Coffin.
It was, which two states have bills in already to change from licensure to, which two states did you say have, bills
Can-
in that aren't,
Kansas
that don't have
and
licensure right now?
Kansas and Minnesota. The only unregulated state that doesn't have anything on the table right now is Wyoming.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Please join.
Not often in the witness chair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think this is the first time I've seen you in here for
Did you?
formal testimony this year.
I know. Nice to see everybody. For the record, Patty Comline here on behalf of Downs Racklin Martin and our client World Without Exploitation. Appreciate this opportunity to speak to you all about what we believe is critical need to license the massage businesses. It's nice that we're working aligned with this group. Given the short notice of our scheduling, which I'm very grateful for, our client had a conflict that couldn't change. And so that's why I'm here on their behalf. So World Without Exploitation, we've been working with them for about 3.5 years now. They're comprised of 200 member groups nationally who work to end human trafficking. So what I'm going to do is introduce our ask, share a little bit about the need, and then collect questions that I can't answer for follow-up. And we can hope that you'll want to hear more on this. So the concern regarding exploitive illegal activities in many massage businesses here was raised in conversations we first had with the Attorney General's office, with the chief of their criminal division. And that's when this concern was first raised to us. So we gathered more information, and that led us to ask for the licensing of the businesses through the Office of Professional Regulation. OPR investigators would have easier access for inspections to confirm that the business is credible. And if not, appropriate steps could be taken. In fact, the interim OPR director was a former investigator, and he shared some stories I'm sure he'd be happy to share with all of you about his experience in the realm. Massage therapy is a respected profession, but the absence of a clear licensing framework has allowed for the operation of illicit massage businesses that serve as fronts for human trafficking to flourish. They take advantage of the regulatory loopholes to operate under the guise of legitimate businesses, making it difficult for law enforcement agencies to intervene effectively, which I did confirm yesterday, as I knew I was getting ready to come here today. Research and law enforcement reports have demonstrated a strong connection between these businesses and human trafficking. They exploit vulnerable individuals, often immigrant women, through force, fraud, coercion, subjecting them to inhumane working conditions and sexual exploitation. In 2020 alone, the National Human Trafficking Hotline had identified over 900 cases of trafficking within the illicit massage businesses across the country. Vermont's not immune to this issue, as evidenced by ongoing investigations and reports many of you may have read about. There's a recent one in Burlington, there was one in Brattleboro, Bennington, that indicate that we know that this is going on here within our borders. There's an online, I spoke to your chair about this yesterday. There are online reviews that I'm not going to share. I'm happy to share with you individually. They're pretty explicit, and they're available on open online to the general public about reviews on these businesses. And so we've identified that there are at least 20 of them throughout the state. And I do have a heat map I can provide later that can show where these businesses are here in Vermont, and they're local. So how can licensing help combat human trafficking? By establishing a comprehensive licensing system for massage businesses, will provide several key benefits to addressing this issue. Verification and accountability. Licensing will require businesses to verify ownership, employment practices, and adherence to ethical standards, preventing traffickers from operating in anonymity. Routine inspections and compliance. Regulatory oversight, including these inspections and compliance checks, will ensure that businesses operate lawfully and do not engage in exploitive practices. Public safety and consumer protection. Licensing will help ensure that individuals seeking legitimate massage therapy services are not unknowingly supporting human trafficking operations. Law enforcement support, by creating a regulatory framework, law enforcement will be better equipped to identify and shut down illicit operations, distinguishing them from legitimate practitioners. And professional integrity, licensed businesses will elevate the reputation of massage therapy as a trusted profession by maintaining standards of practice and ethics. So in conclusion, we believe this is a necessary step to protect individuals from human trafficking and exploitation while supporting ethical massage therapy practitioners. And we urge you to take this legislation up to protect vulnerable individuals.
Thank you. So OPR, Secretary of State's office, they've done research, they've done reports. There's been a lot of back end work leading up to this, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, well, I talked about a year and a half ago. I spoke. I remember I was out walking, so I know it was not snow. I know do that. I was hiking and I was talking to Lauren Hibber, and who was former director of OPR and now obviously you know that in this committee. And she acknowledged that it was an oversight not to include them when they were doing the work on the therapist, and said, but she did not have time to do that last session and wanted to take it up this session. Now, she would openly, she'll share with you that she's overwhelmed and doesn't feel she has capacity to do that this year. We feel like this is very important, and it's been something that is ongoing. They were very aware of it before we even came and talked to them about it. And as I said, Michael Warren now had very specific examples to share when we spoke with them.
Okay.
So, and understand the balance of workload, and I would hope that you could urge them to reprioritize, because this is absolutely something going on and law enforcement. I spoke with Tim Litters Demont yesterday, and he'd be happy to testify the impact this could have on helping. He also said it would help with the backlog in the course.
Yeah, and I think that's something like I do wanna, being situationally aware to the really big things that we have to work on. I think I wanna add just the rung of things we wanna keep speaking to as we're bouncing in and out of the really big things. Not that this is not a big thing, but we have that education lift, we've got a big elections bill coming. But I think that this is something we need to keep talking about, because it's some of the stuff that I've been hearing. I mean, it's just the fact that there's like online boards, chats in places
They
that
review the women
that are
they go on.
consumer review.
Mhm.
I mean, wow.
Refer to how old they look. Refer to whether they're happy to be
Yes.
there.
And so, yeah, this is a loophole we gotta talk about.
Mm.
So,
Shows.
Representative Pango.
Does this have any, I mean, it should have overlap with judiciary, are they interested in delving into this?
So that's something I'd like to speak to them about. But one of my questions I want to ask with the law enforcement community is obviously running a operation that engages in sex work is already illegal, so I want to understand why their tools can't work as well as one may think, and why licensure is a cleaner path for them to engage in illicit activities or engage in breaking up illicit activities. I don't know what I'm saying.
I'd also
So-
point out, sorry,
No, please.
as a deterrent, I can tell you in Maine, oddly, we had a meeting the other day and there aren't any of these in Maine. I don't know if there's any, but there's very, very few. Proportionally, but based on our per capita, we have a high number of them. They have to be licensed in Maine. We went and did the work, they are licensed in Maine. I also wondered about the roads, easy access in and out of Maine. I don't know, but they do have to be licensed in Maine, and there are very few of them. And we do have an inordinate high number.
I wonder if there's somebody in Maine we could talk to.
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
Representative
or
Whitten.
I just wonder if licensure is a deterrent for legal activity, because I know somebody is going to be checking it.
Well, that's the thing, you need a
Routine.
warrant to go in with law enforcement and do that thing where anybody from the inspectors can just walk in and do a
Yeah.
license check, so there's that randomness. And you don't have to get a warrant, go
Yeah.
through the whole process, so I can
Like a state
see,
inspector type of thing.
yeah, it's like the health department walking in for a check, yeah.
I feel like this
Ish.
is much more preventative and law enforcement is much more reactionary, so I feel like taking this up on the front end is more important
Mhm.
to actually deterring people, because law enforcement are coming in after the nefarious act already has happened.
And when the customers find out they can get random pop-ins, they might be less prone to
I would
be a
also,
customer.
I wouldn't speak for the massage therapist, but I think they would concur that same in licensing is also a preventative measure. For who's a massage therapist, who's identified as a massage therapist in Vermont.
Okay. So it looks like it seems that the table is mutually agreeable to put this under the active consideration list.
Definitely.
Cool.
Thank you.
Totally.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. All right, any questions for our guest on Zoom?
No.
No? All right. Thank you so much for the time and the testimony. So just keep an eye on your emails. We'll probably be reaching out at some point for continued input.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, committee, looks like we got another pause heading our way. We are gonna be back here still 11:15, yes? 11:15 to talk to Sheriff Anderson and Ledge Council about section 5 at H44. Until then,